Hey there, coaches. Today's session is on coaching skills. So I've just finished doing a demonstration coaching session inside the Supercoach Society, helping our coaches to see how these question sets that I teach really link together into a coherent transformational experience for the client. So here's the question that I want you to really think about, particularly if you are the type of coach that usually has a lot of advice and really has a lot of strategies, a lot of expertise, and you come into your coaching sessions quite full of all of your expertise, right? And so I'm really teaching strategic expert coaches, subject matter experts, how to add in the transformational coaching skills that are really going to help their clients follow through on that advice and really get those transformational outcomes that sometimes advice alone cannot facilitate for the client. So here's the mindset shift. What if the best answer for your client was a question? Questions open up our mind. So when we give advice to our clients, advice improves performance, and it is absolutely a really foundational and fabulous way to support people. You know, someone wants to make a change, they want to improve what they're doing, and you've got expertise and you can guide them in a better, more efficient, more effective way to do the thing that they're already doing. And so advice can improve performance. What happens is the client will either do what they need to do and follow through on that advice to get the improved performance, or they don't, right? Or they have some kind of internal unconscious handbrake or obstacle that stops them from doing that. That's when facilitated transformation really needs to come in, because the client will either follow through on the advice or not. And if they don't, then we need to look at what is it that's in the way of them doing that thing, and what is it that needs to shift inside of the person so that they can become the person that can live in that new reality and do that thing that they need to do to get the results that they consciously want and consciously say that they want. And so here's where questions can really come into their own, because powerful questions, when you come in not full of advice, but as an empty cup and a clean mirror to reflect back your client's words back to them so that they can hear themselves and start to untangle the complicated mess of stories and ideas and values and inner conflicts that they have inside them, which all of us do. When you ask powerful questions, then it can create self-generated insights that refocus the person's attention, and it can activate neuroplastic change inside the mind in that moment and create new neural pathways. This is my hands being neurons here. New neural pathways to evolve the person's identity so that they can then become the person who can do the things to have the results. Right? A lot of coaching focuses on just do the things to have the results and then you'll be the person, right? Do, have, be. But transformational coaching really focuses on be, do, have, which really starts the change from the inside out. Who do you get to be so that you can do the thing as an inevitable and intrinsic action that that person would do, which then makes the result completely inevitable because you already are acting and behaving as that person. So there's no inner conflict or internal handbrakes that are stopping them from doing that. So most coaching, most strategic coaching, most expert coaching, most teaching focuses down here on the neurological levels of change, on what you need to do differently. Right? What you need to do differently, the new behaviors that you need, the new skills that you need to learn, the things you need to become capable of, do the action to get the result. And that's useful until it's not, right? It's useful until you come up against someone's unconscious obstacle or internal conflict where they say they want to do it, but some part of their unconscious mind is not congruent or aligned with that. And then they can have the best strategy in the world. You can give them the best of your expertise, but they're not going to be able to follow through on that, no matter how good it is, because it's not about the quality of the advice. It's about their internal congruence with becoming the person who can live in that reality. So most strategic and expert coaching focuses down here at the behavior level. And what I'm teaching coaches to do is start to raise their gaze and start to think more deeply and ask more questions to focus in at the identity level. Because when the identity level shifts, all of the beliefs and values, all of the capabilities, all of this is downstream of the person's identity change. And so in this demo that I just had, I had a wonderful client who needed to evolve her identity about being a mother, right? As her kids are growing up, letting go of the nurturing kind of close proximity type of parent and moving into more of a spacious role model parent. And so that was really stopping her from being able to do a whole bunch of things that she wanted to consciously do. And so many times our clients will have these internal identity conflicts, whether it's between, being a mother and being a businesswoman, or, being a present father and being a successful entrepreneur. So often we will have these unconscious internal identity conflicts that just need some spaciousness and exploration so that the client's unconscious mind can start to tease out where those conflicts are lying, and they hear themselves inside those questions saying things. It's like, oh, hang on, I'm really feeling that, or that's not actually true. And so when you ask really great questions, it helps to untangle all of the unconscious baggage that is inside every single person. We all have heaps of unconscious stuff that are pulling our strings like little puppets, and stopping us from doing the things that we want to do. Really great transformational coaching focuses here at this identity level and starts to move the client gently through this process that helps them to unpack those things. And so if you want your client to take more responsibility for their outcomes, be a better client, do better, take action more, and, be coachable. If you want your clients to take more responsibility for their outcomes in this response, above the line, below the line, respond, react type of thing, then you as the coach get to take responsibility for coaching them more effectively. If you want them to take more responsibility, you as the coach also get to take more responsibility, learning the new skills and expanding your identity as a coach from an advice giver to a transformational facilitator. And now here's where it gets exciting, because when you are no longer limited by your expertise and the amount of advice that you can give, you're no longer limited to working with clients who are a version of your past self, right? When you're the expert and you're giving coaching that is kind of more like mentoring, where you're giving them advice on things that you've done, expertise that you have, skills that you're teaching them based on your expertise, then you're always limited to working with people who know less than you and have less success than you in that particular area of your expertise. When you as the coach get to take responsibility for expanding your skill set as a coach and your identity as a coach from an advice giver to a transformational facilitator, then you can start to work with more challenging clients, different clients who have expertise in different areas, and you're no longer limited to working with some version of your past self. So, did you know that there's 2 types of questions inside every effective transformational coaching session, right? 2 types of questions. There's the ones you say out loud to your client, the ones that they answer, that they hear, that are heard. But there's also an invisible set of questions, the ones that you ask yourself to track what they say and how to kind of make sense of all of the jumble of words and stories and limitations and inner conflicts, the ones that you ask yourself to track what they say and to support them to shift. And this is what I call the coach compass. The coach compass is the map and the model that you have within your own mind that filters all of the words that they say so that you can understand, is this a present state thing? Is this a present state situation that they're talking about? Is it a desired state goal, something that they want to move into? Is it a resource that they have or that they need? Or is it an interference, a limiting belief, an internal conflict, some kind of block that's stopping, some kind of handbrake? I often use that metaphor, some kind of handbrake that's preventing them from moving forward. Because someone can put a lot of effort into accelerating and trying to have a lot of, effort and force to move forwards towards their desired state. But if there is an internal interference, a handbrake that is stopping them, then they will always come up against procrastination, self-sabotage, like weird curveballs that happen or obstacles that seem to come out of nowhere that are, preventing them from getting to where they want to go. So if you'd like to know more about how to unpack and track this for your clients, the Coach Compass, then please comment Compass below and I will send you a link to our Coach Compass mini training where I go in more depth around how to actually do this, because I believe that the most underrated and most important coaching skill that you can have as a transformational coach, as any kind of coach, is your ability to track what your client says, to track their journey, to track what's going on and what are the key words and what's the through line of the kind of hero's journey that this person is on. Because if you can't track it and give it and kind of reflect that back to them, then you're not going to be able to illuminate their thinking so that they can actually become free and move towards that outcome. So if you'd like to know more, comment Compass below and I will drop a link to help you to uncover all of the skills and techniques and questions that you can ask to help your client to transform and become the person that they need to be to live in their desired state goal experience.